Hello, Scream Demons. Welcome to the Screens from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey.
This is a horror podcast in which two horror fans, plus one sometimes, discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectables, and more.
I am one of your co-hosts. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam.
And
let's get screaming.
Get screaming. Let's do this. Like Sam said, there's usually two of us. Sometimes we add a third. We make this a nice little three-way on this Screens from the Basement. And joining us on this
three-way episode.
It's a three-way episode, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about a movie with a bunch of swingers, so we have to throw out that this is a three-way episode. Guys, we are joined by the one, the only, insane Mike from Attack of the Killer podcast.
Hey, guys. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We literally got called out to have you on this show, and we're like, oh my God, we feel so bad. So, like, we have to have Mike on.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
Full disclosure, he hired Jason to come all the way to Sioux Falls. I have a cotton candy gun pointed at the back of my head right now. Send help.
Send help.
You guys had Tad on, and I'm like, oh, what about me? But I got over it. I cried for a couple of days, but I'm okay now.
That's okay. You're here now.
I'm here now.
We have an insane double feature to talk about today. One that you picked for us as the topic of this episode. We're talking TerrorVision from 1986, Bad Channels 1992. We're doing a Ted Nicolaou double feature on this episode.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun one, folks. And first of all, we have a couple plugs we got to throw into the beginning of the show, and then we're going to dive into the main topic, those two crazy movies that we'll talk about on this episode. First of all, this month's sponsor is Terror Cards. This is Terror Cards. This is an online app that you can download for free, and you can get digital trading cards on that app. And then they are also giving out some physical cards this month that you can purchase on the app as well. So download Terror Cards, whether you have Apple or Android, you can download the app now. And we'd like to thank them for sponsoring this month's podcast.
Yeah.
So that's the first plug. Second plug, coming up this Friday, or if you're listening to this right here, right now, you can go watch TerrorVision on the big screen in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at the Sioux Falls State Theater. That's going to be at 10 p.m. This Friday. Sam and I are going to be hosting that night's festivities. We're going to be our own horror host for the evening. Yeah. Sam may be more so than I that evening.
I have a big plan.
Two big plans.
Two big plans.
Yes, two. Yes,
two.
For the evening. So go get your tickets, or just walk up at the door and join in the festivities for TerrorVision on the big screen. And then last but not least, before we jump into this, Mike, tell us a little bit about Attack of the Killer podcast.
Attack of the Killer podcast. It's a horror movie podcast. Group of friends. We get together. We have a topic. We pick movies from that within that topic, and we discuss. We're just friends hanging out. So sometimes there's spoilers, but sometimes we laugh, we cry, but it's always a good time.
Yeah,
it is always a blast. And I have to say, I know you guys are getting a lot of flack for your colored episodes. I like the colored episodes. I like them. I have to say I like them a lot.
I'm just saying, when we do get the flack, it just encourages me to keep going. We've done probably way more of those colored episodes than we originally planned, just because people were getting pissed off.
I cannot wait for like the magenta episode. That's going to be a good one.
I know.
I did not understand your yellow episode at all until Tad came on and explained it in very simple terms to me. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
one
as we're jumping into this double feature, TerrorVision and Bad Channels, Mike, what color would you associate with these movies?
What color?
Yeah.
Oh man. I'd say green for all the the pus and goo and fungus that grows on radio station walls. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
green.
Green. That's a good color for these. That is definitely a good color for both of these movies, and we're dealing with two aliens from outer space invading technology. One with television, one with radio. Let's kick it off with TV. 1986's TerrorVision, written and directed by Ted Nicolaou. Sam, I'm going to kick it off to you first. TerrorVision. What did you know about TerrorVision before we decided this on the as our double feature, and what are your kind of just first of all initial thoughts?
So my story with both of these movies is that I had not even really heard of them or what they were about until Mike picked this episode. This was a double feature that Casey had programmed. And yeah, so I watched both of these movies for the first time in the last week. And as far as TerrorVision goes, I love this movie. This is a movie that feels like it was kind of like made in a lab for me. There's a lot of my favorite things. There's a lot of 80s aesthetic with a lot of neon and bright, vibrant colors. There's a monster from outer space. There's swinging parents. There's Mary Warrenoff, guys.
Yes.
Mary Warrenoff. Just one of my favorite genre actresses like ever to grace the screen. She's so great. She's so great in this. Garrett Graham as her husband, just always a solid, like every time Garrett Graham's in something, I know it's gonna like bump up a half a star, you know? So yeah, I sit here now realizing as I just spewed my initial thoughts that I rated this way too low on Letterboxd, and I'll be updating my star rating by the end of this conversation. Yeah, no, TerrorVision was entirely my shit. I really loved it. I really loved it. Thank you, Mike, for picking this episode.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, Mike, why these two movies? Why TerrorVision and why Bad Channels?
They are, you could almost consider them like brother films in a way. They're both directed by Ted Nicolaou. They're both produced by Charles Band. I mean, one was in Empire Pictures, the other one's Full Moon. It's like you said in the beginning, they both deal with aliens and they both deal with technology and the aliens using the different technology. But beyond that, both are like on another level, more of a surreal level of reality. They're both, very goofy and funny, and definitely going more for the laughs than the scares or anything else. And the monsters are just cool. There's just so many similar connecting threads to these two movies that they're like the perfect pair.
Yeah, these two movies for me are kind of like Stuart Gordon's From Beyond and Reanimator, where they're not a sequel to one another, but they're both very much built with the same DNA.
Yeah,
but very different movies within that own DNA. Yeah, that's why like this double feature is just the perfect double feature for these two movies, because there is nothing like TerrorVision and there's nothing like Bad Channels. Even the two movies together, they're not really that, besides somewhat similar like basic premises, they are very different movies, and there's nothing like these two. And I remember the first time I watched TerrorVision was on like Comet TV or Antenna TV or one of, just one of those over the air stations when I first moved up to Sioux Falls. And that's kind of like the perfect way to watch this, is like having an antenna beam TerrorVision onto my TV screen. Let's jump into TerrorVision. Spoilers ahead for both of these movies. We're assuming a lot of the people that'll probably be listening to this have seen TerrorVision now that it's playing on the big screen at the State Theater, or maybe have watched it back in the day. Maybe they were one of the few people that watched this in theaters back in the day before it was pulled after being in theaters for 4 days, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
All
the best movies were flops, man. All the best
all the best ones are. Yeah. So in a world that's set inside a MTV music video, which this movie is, it's just an MTV music video turned up to an 11. The Putterman family, great name for a movie family. They encounter an alien monster that travels via satellite into their TV, and he's hell-bent on the destruction of the human race as we know it. Basic plot for TerrorVision. First things first, we got to talk about the score and the soundtrack of this movie, because the movie opens with the TerrorVision song. Like every great movie needs to have a title song. The title song for this movie is incredible. And it sets up that tone perfectly.
Yeah, it's very like, yeah, like you said, I'm a sucker for movies like the 1950s Blob, that just like there's that title song, you know, even like Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors. Like there's something about a title song in a horror movie that just sells it that much more. When you hear a title song over the opening credits, it just automatically gets you excited. You know that you are in for a fun time. You know that this movie isn't going to take itself too seriously. Although I suppose in the Nightmare on Elm Street 3 case, that's one of the only slashers to make me cry. So take that with a grain of salt. Sometimes theme songs lie, and it's not an awesome Dokken music video throughout the whole thing. It just rips your heart out in the third act. But yeah. Tangent. But yeah, no, I love the TerrorVision theme.
Yeah, what a way to start your movie with that song. It's like almost impossible to describe, but I'm going to try. I mean, it's very kind of to call it punk doesn't give it enough credit. It's kind of more of a it's kind of a blend of from that era of like a new wave, kind of like an art punk kind of thing. It's just very all over the place. Imagine Oingo Boingo, but turned up to 11.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like Oingo Boingo, but like somehow weirder.
Yes, yes, very much weirder. And the band was called the Vibonics, I think, or something along those lines. I'm probably totally slaughtering it. They were a band that wasn't around very long either, which is a shame. They formed in like 81, and they didn't record their first album until 1987. Well, they were working on it through most of that time, but we're just having all these different production problems. And the album didn't get put out till 87. And they were so disgruntled with the production of that album that they broke up in 88. So it's a shame because it's an awesome band. I want that album. They have a few other songs in there, and they kind of worked with Richard Band, as far as I know, as far as the score goes, because the score really, it's Richard Band who does the score, which, you know, anything Charles Band, you know, Richard's going to show up. But it's that theme song is got a very, you know, synth kind of poppy kind of sci-fi sound throughout the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I was reading that the band was working with Charles Band to keep those themes growing through the whole score.
And that would make sense because they have a couple of different like songs credited to them on the soundtrack. So like, yeah, it feels like they very much worked in tandem to make sure that it was kind of like a symbiotic relationship between the like the soundtrack and the score, which I always appreciate. Like my favorite moments in any kind of like heavy soundtrack with score movie are when they kind of blend score and the needle drops into something that makes it just feel even grander than it is.
And you can definitely tell when the Richard Bandness of the score comes in this movie. It's a lot of like boom, 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 like just like really goofy sounds, which is very Richard Band. And I love Richard Band. The person that they originally wanted to score this, Ted Nicolaou did, was Frank Zappa.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I heard that would have been
cool.
That would have been crazy. Couldn't get him, so they're like, well, who's the second option? Charlie's like, I know a guy. My brother. Which is fine. Richard Band is the man. He does a great job here. And again, blending the score with the soundtrack. It's so seamless in this movie, and it's perfect for the tone, because the tone of this movie you can't take any of this seriously.
No.
This is all turned up to an 11, goofy as hell.
It is as wacky as that theme song. That's the
Yeah.
thing about this film. It's such a hyper reality. Like all the characters are just so over the top, and not just their performances, but how they look, the way they dress, the way their characters are. I mean, for God's sakes, you have your kind of stereotypical nuclear family: mom, dad, bro,
Mhm.
sis. But the parents are straight up admitting out loud to their small children that they're swingers and they're having people over to do some swinging.
Yep.
Yep.
They have a giant hot tub built into their house for their what did they call it? Their love den or whatever. What was
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote these down. I wrote down so many quotes. That's most of my notes for this.
Very quotable movie, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the Pleasure
Pleasure
Dome pool.
Dome.
Pleasure Dome. Yes.
Yep. And
That
then
needs to be a
the
sporting event.
living room is their pleasure pen.
That's
They have,
yep.
they have the
The
pleasure
living
pen
room
and the
is
pleasure
the pleasure
dome.
pen.
Yes. Yeah.
And throughout the house, you have like these 70s style art pieces that are depicting sex
Oh.
and
Erotic
everything else.
art all over the place. The
And
set
again,
deck
they're
department
small
deserved
children.
an Oscar for this movie.
Oh,
Like
that's
they did
yeah.
not know when to quit. They did
Yeah.
not know when to quit. The set decoration in this movie is next level. I love this house.
That's the other thing too. Like even the sets are such a beyond reality. Like the only scene, and it really bugs me that they did this one shot, because everything else is everything else just looks like it's shot on some soundstage. Even when
Mhm.
we're in the backyard and they're messing with the satellite dish, that's astroturf. That's like a matte painting in the background. There's nothing reality in those shots. But then you get that shot at the very end where it's exterior front of the house,
Mhm.
which doesn't even look like it should be the same house, but it is obviously an exterior shot they stole from somewhere. And that I hate that shot because I just want everything to stay contained in this weirdo reality.
Yeah.
And just with the performances, with the costumes, with the sets, these really, really fake but over the top sets, uh, it feels like a TV sitcom,
hmm
which fits right into the theme. I feel like all of it is intentional with this theme of television throughout this whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah, the set design in this is just immaculate. From the living room to the swimming area to the backyard to Grandpa's like
Oh
bunker.
god, the bunker is
Bunker,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Just
like
has a
tucked
bunker
away
in this house. Yeah.
the tucked away Confederate flag. Like I'm like, oh yeah, there's the touch. I was like,
Yeah.
yep, that's that grandpa in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, Grandpa needed to go after that. After
Yeah.
we saw that. Yeah, but like their backyard, it's literally just like a blue wall in the
Yeah.
studio. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
else, just a wall painted blue. Yeah, and they shot this in Dino De Laurentiis' studio that Charlie bought in Italy. And when I was reading a little bit, it was either from Charlie's book or it came from the video aisle, one of the two. But it mentions that when he bought the studio, De Laurentiis literally like gutted the place before he sold it, and like took like the air conditioners and the fans out of the studio.
Oh my goodness! All the
And
copper wire.
Yeah, and so when they shot TerrorVision and Troll, which were the first two movies that they shot here, the crews were just dying because there was no air conditioner because De Laurentiis took it out. I'm like, that's hilarious. That's indie filmmaking, baby. Let's talk about the characters, because each character, like Mike said, it's the nuclear family, but all of these people have very distinct quirks that are turned up to an 11. They're all characters of everyone in the 80s. Everyone in the 80s is represented here. You have Garrett Graham, who plays Stanley, the father, who's just he's a swinging dad. He's like the dad from Brady Bunch if he was a swinger. He might have been a swinger anyway, but out swinger, maybe that's the way to put it. He's such a goofball. He's so full of himself, but also like you can tell, like he also just loves his wife too. Like he's just a happy-go-lucky swinger. Then you have the mom, Mary Warrenoff, who plays Raquel,
who has no maternal warmth in this entire movie whatsoever. It's amazing. It's perfect casting.
I find it very funny, but also maybe speaking a little too much of today, of just how her one way of dealing with her son is to medicate him. Like they keep talking about through this whole movie how he's on this medication for these problems that he has, and it's like I don't see any problems other than he just keeps getting in your way of swinging.
Yep. Like the kid just has an overactive imagination, it sounds like, and you know,
which
he can be a bit of a cock block sometimes, which is what kids do. Like,
but that imagination is 1,000% fueled by Grandpa. I mean, it's Grandpa is the one that is encouraging this kid to be the way he is.
Yeah, Grandpa, who's like this crazy militia doomsday prepper who munches on lizard tails that he turns into jerky.
You know, I got thinking about that. That's actually kind of genius because he talks about he's making this jerky out of lizard tails because what's great about a lizard is that the tail will grow back.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I'm buying a bunch of lizards right before the apocalypse, and we'll have a never-ending food supply of tail jerky.
It's so fucked up. It's so funny.
It is, and I love the reveal when the son is in the in Grandpa's little bunker, and he opens the curtain. There's just a bunch of lizards, and then you have like a thing on like how to make jerky right behind him. And then you have the daughter Susie, who's, I mean, she's every 80s Valley girl turned up to an 11. She looks like Cyndi Lauper had sex with Cyndi Lauper, and this is what she got.
That's one of my many boyhood crushes, Diane Franklin.
Yeah.
I first fell in love with her when I first saw Better Off Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And she's so, again, over the top in this, but just still so adorable.
Yeah. She's one of the princesses, right? In Bill and Ted.
Yeah, one of the original princesses.
Joanna,
yeah. Which has always bothered me about the sequels. It's like, bring Diane Franklin back. Come on, she's not doing nothing. Come on.
Yeah.
Then you have her boyfriend, OD, who might be my favorite character in this movie. One, because his name is already hilarious. He's playing this like 80s metalhead with the name OD. Get it? It's so funny. I love that his name is just that. It's OD. Played by John Grease, who
Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Teenage Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
I really love how Garrett Graham and Mary try really hard to say his name as if it's normal.
Yeah.
Like every time they're like, "Oh, it was nice to meet you, OD." It cracks me up.
I love when Susie first says his name. It's like OD, and then you have the dad. He's just like, "Oh, an Irish boy."
That's right. That was a great line. Yes.
Oh God.
And then you have the son Sherman, who's kind of, I mean, he's like the most realistic character, I guess, the one that's the least caricature, but also has like that over hyperactive imagination of a child.
I was about to say he's very much like the prototypical golly look mom kid from like the 50s sci-fi kind of movies.
Yeah.
And yet knows how to work a machine gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
He knows how to handle all those firearms.
Hey, it's the 80s. You have the golly oh shucks kids, but they do have to know how to use a gun.
You never know when a monster's going to come through your TV set.
And if 80s movies taught us anything, more often than not, that's going to happen.
Yes, exactly.
Last but not least, Sam, I assume this is your favorite character. Medusa, the midnight horror host. Yeah. Sam, take it away.
I adored this character. It's very clear that she is kind of a riff on Elvira, who, as most people who've listened to this show know, is my all-time favorite horror host. Good Lord, this performance is so good that I was like, I felt like I knew this actress from like so many other things. That's like how assured the performance was and how much I fell in love with. I'm like, I know her from somewhere, right? And she's not really in a lot. Like, this is one of her only film roles. And I'm just like, she's iconic. She is iconic in this movie. And I'm just going to say it. Medusa is worth the price of a ticket to TerrorVision on Friday night. I'm not going to keep plugging it, but like, for real, guys, like Medusa on the big screen, you got to see it.
I'm right there with you. I could have sworn I knew this actress, and then rewatching it for the show, I hadn't seen it in a few years. I'm like, I don't know who this is at all.
Like,
but
she doesn't even have an IMDb page, or not a Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Like, she's
her IMDb picture is her as Medusa.
Yeah.
That's how obscure she is. Yeah, that's crazy.
Someone needs to find her and get her like a Barbara Crampton comeback.
I had to look really quick on my phone to see, because it just dawned on me. Talking about similar themes, the original Fright Night, kind of same thing, where they try to recruit the horror host, because it cracks me up in this on how the kids' only thought to try to get some help is to call the local TV horror host.
Yeah, he doesn't call the cops at first. No. He's like, there's a monster coming through my TV set. You know who's gonna help? Elvira, but with snakes on her head.
Hey, exactly. I mean, if you're a 10-year-old kid and like that's like your favorite show because it seems like him and Grandpa watch that show every Friday night or whatever.
Yep.
Who's the expert on monsters? Medusa, obviously. Yeah, we need a spin-off with Medusa and Peter Vincent together. Like that's a spin-off we need.
Yeah, I looked though. It was like 85 for Fright Night. So I wonder if any of that influenced this movie at all.
Oh, I would bet so. Yeah. That's cool. I don't know. I'm a sucker for horror hosts being characters in movies in general. I think that's something that's so untapped in horror. Like Casey and I have kind of talked at length about how like we need more horror hosts, like horror movies, and I don't know. I feel like TerrorVision for me at least scratches that itch somewhat.
I mean, we love the Count Crowley comic book series. That's literally what that comic book series is. It's a horror host fighting monsters, and we're like, this is the greatest thing ever. So, like, yeah, it's right up our alley.
I'm right there with you. I'm ginormous horror host fan, huge horror host fan. I am the old curmudgeon that grew up in the day of there was a local horror host on about every TV station across America. Mine was Count Morbius on Channel 8 out of Ames.
Nice.
He was the guy I watched every weekend. And I remember growing up, my Saturdays were spent. I'd get up, I'd watch Commander USA's Groovy Movies on the USA Network. I'd watch then at night I'd watch Count Morbius' Saturday Nightmares on Channel 8, then jump back to the USA Network for USA Up All Night.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Just back in the day when like there were horror hosts everywhere. Love it.
This had to have been like a USA Up All Night movie, right? TerrorVision.
I'm trying to think. I would not be surprised. They had to have shown it. I know that they've shown a lot of stuff. I know they showed a lot of films, and a lot of films were made specifically to be aired on television on stuff like USA Up All Night as a package. Like the Camp Pictures, which was also a Charles Band production. Stuff like Sorority Babes, The Slime Ball Bonorama, Salted Killer Bimbos. Those were staples on USA Up All Night. So they had to have shown TerrorVision at some point.
Yeah.
And again, this movie, Ted has talked about this movie being, he tried to make a movie for kids and stoners. Is what he set out to make, and that's
he succeeded.
He succeeded. And who's gonna watch USA Up All Night? kids and stoners. Like that's the target. So they definitely had to have played this movie.
Mommy, what's a swinger?
That's the first quote I actually wrote down. It's just the mom's reply of "Not tonight. Your father and I might be swinging."
I know. That's what I'm saying. What the heck?
Yeah.
Just straight up. And when they're testing out the satellite dish and he's flipping through channels and they end up on that porn channel, and Dad just leaves it there.
Yeah.
The only one who has any common sense is the dog Susie to cover up the boy's eyes.
Grandpa, I found the channel. It's on channel 69 for later. Another line. I'm just going to start throwing out quotes for a little while here. One of my favorite OD lines is "kiss the boot,"
Yeah.
and then the kids reply, "kiss the ass."
Yeah.
Shoves the gun right in his crotch. That leads us. I guess we need to talk maybe about the most important character, though. The monster.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh
The
my
monster.
God.
Created by John Carl Buechler, who apparently made this monster in a week under the notes from Ted Nicolaou that said, "Make the monster stupid."
I think he succeeded in the best way.
He did,
Like
yeah.
it's so like, I mean, when the end of this movie is like the reveal basically is like, oh, he's a pet and he just got loose. Like, yeah, that is like a dumb pet lost and hungry, kind of like that's what that creature is. And after in that context, like I wanted to rewatch this movie and hug the creature through my television screen. I was like, oh, poor guy's just lost and hungry, like I'd feed him people if he showed up in my television.
So to describe this monster, take like a giant sized Glad garbage bag, cover it in like pizza toppings, put it in the microwave for about 30 minutes, glue a couple eyeballs on it and a mouth, and then also, just for good measure, have a random tentacle with a giant eyeball on the end of it that comes out of nowhere and one claw hand.
Yes.
That's better than my description, which was just, it looks like they put Jabba the Hutt in a microwave. But
that's what it's Pizza the Hut from
I would say,
Spaceballs.
it definitely
is,
looks like
isn't it?
Pizza
Yeah.
the Hut. Yeah.
He does. He does look like Pizza the Hut.
It's Pizza the Hut's chubbier brother. Yes.
Yeah. Definitely from the same planet.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
I love the monster. I love the look of the monster. John Carl. I mean, I love him anyway. But I've always just really enjoyed his effects work. The Ghoulie stuff. His stuff he did in Troll, which he also directed, and of course Friday 7 and all that stuff. And this monster's the cream of the crop. It's such a fun monster and so fitting in the wankiness of this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we kind of make fun of like I said, the note was to make the monster look stupid. It does look stupid, but it's also like I was telling Sam this. It's not lazy at all. Like when you think of stupid, you might associate it with lazy, but it's not at all because like you said, Mike, it's this crazy looking monster that had so much thought and effort put into it of like, okay, what does a stupid monster look like then? Where it's got lopsided eyes that aren't the same, a mouth that's way too big.
It's got like 3 nostrils.
Yeah.
There's like 2 regular nostrils kind of off to the side, and then there's like a third one randomly like over on the face. It's crazy.
2 random tentacles that make no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, let's have him voiced by Scooby-Doo. Like that's how you make a stupid monster.
Man, where's NECA with the action figure of this guy? Come on.
Oh my God, yes.
We need that.
Shout Factory needs to do one of those special like collector's edition packages with like a NECA figure of the creature and like the postcards and the posters and all that. Like, yeah, give me that NECA / Scream Factory.
Holy shit! Like that would be amazing.
Full disclosure. Like after I watched this movie, I immediately got online and ordered the TerrorVision Video Dead double feature Blu-ray from Scream Factory. I love this movie. I love this movie.
Nice double feature with Video Dead.
Yeah, right.
That's a movie for you.
I think that's the only way to own this movie
currently. I think
Really?
currently, like besides like a VHS tape. I don't even think it has.
Right.
It might not have a DVD. I don't know.
It's like a Blu-ray DVD pack.
The 2-pack.
With the 2-pack. But yeah, I don't think like on its own it even has a DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did we all watch this? We went forward in time to the State Theater screening.
Listen, if Charlie Band isn't going to pull that off YouTube, I don't blame us for watching it off of YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. It's not even like, I don't even think it's on his streaming stuff.
It's not.
No.
Because I have it. And
well, I looked for it on Tubi because I know Tubi also has a lot of it has like a whole category for the full moon, but there's a lot of the other production companies that have stuff on there too, like Empire and Camp.
So what I'm hoping is, like Sam said, either Sam's thing happens where we get another Blu-ray release of just this movie with the monster NECA, like that would be awesome.
That would be so cool.
Or I want this to be on volume 2 of Empire of Screams, like do another box set and include this one as one of the 5 movies, because that box set is like one of my favorite things on my shelf. It's incredible. So yeah, if they're gonna do a part 2, TerrorVision needs to be on there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about orgies with Grandpa.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Favorite shot of the entire movie. Favorite shot of the whole movie is Grandpa's like disgusting, like blobby head popping out of the
lube. Yeah.
And he says his little catchphrase line. What was that? That he said throughout the entire movie when he was asked to do something.
Is it like, just taking care of business?
Yeah, taking care of business.
Something like that. Yeah. So what a callback moment to be saying that line.
Yeah. So, like, the goopiness of this movie, Grandpa, like, in the second half, after he dies, spoilers, it's just, in the entire time you see Grandpa, it's just, like, covered in lubricant.
Yeah.
It's so gross and disgusting. They bought, like, 40-gallon drums of the stuff that you use to make KY jelly. And they had that on set to lube up everything they needed to, because this is a very goopy, gross movie.
They didn't just buy drums of KY jelly. They bought drums of the stuff you make KY out of.
Yeah, like the goopy stuff. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, okay. I'm still to this day kind of confused on those moments. So the alien creature, once it consumes somebody, then it can project its head and talk in its voice? Or is that like an extension of the creature?
So I kind of looked at it almost like the Blob, where like you kind of get assimilated into the Blob. Like the Blob is just everything that it's kind of eaten. And in this case, I guess the people don't dissolve. They just protrude from one of the many tentacles.
Yeah.
So, but it seems to, okay. So, I mean, obviously the monster is supposed to be kind of stupid, but in reality it's kind of smart, because he's using the victims to convince other people that everything's okay. Like when the boy sees Grandpa get killed by the monster, and then he tries to tell his parents, and Mary Warnoff goes to the bunker, knocks on the door, and so Slimehead Grandpa pops out and is talking about how he's in there taking care of business. And Mary's like, see, everything's okay. So, and then the same thing about the scene you guys are talking about, where all 5 heads pop out from the bed, all covered in slime, giving everybody false belief that everything is okay. And
Grandpa's
so the monster's
swinging with the kids.
So the monster's kind of smart in that regard.
Yeah.
Also, so Susie's reaction when she sees Grandpa pop up. This isn't the first time she's seen Grandpa in bed with her parents. Just saying.
Yeah, they're not nearly revolted enough in that moment.
No.
That
This
boy-
is
Like,
a regular occurrence.
This
at
is
the
a common
farmhouse.
occurrence.
Yeah.
Child Protection Services needs to show up at that house. You got grandpa giving the kid guns. You got the mom and dad showing him porn on TV, and a menage a trois with the whole family and a couple of other swingers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple other swingers where the guy, the husband of that relationship, is not swinging the way that they thought, and it's still like there's one line where I'm like, that's the one line doesn't hold up, very 80s, but I'm like, it's still a funny scene.
It's a funny dynamic, you know, like it's still like, you know, when you watch something like this that deals with something like that, you know you're gonna hear something that's maybe not choice, right? But
so I'm like, Stanley, you have no room to judge. You were about to
Right.
jump in a lubricated pool with some other woman. Like,
yeah,
don't judge her husband for wanting to get in on the action.
into a really grossly lubricated. Like, who would want to bone in that pool?
Sam, it's like floating in your mother's womb.
Ugh. Oh God!
Another one of my favorite lines.
That's right. All right, you guys ever watch a movie and you see like a minor character and you're like, I think I know who that person is. I've seen him from somewhere, and you have to stop and figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So the female of that other swinging couple. Have you guys ever seen The Man with Two Brains?
No.
Oh crap. Okay, it's great. Steve Martin, one of my favorite Steve Martin movies, and
Okay.
she's in that. So if you ever watch Man with Two Brains, and you get to the hooker where he is going to inject with winter cleaning fluid, and she's singing Duke of Oil, that's the same woman.
Oh my
Does she have
God.
the same voice? Like,
That's the thing. That's how I recognize her. I'm
Okay.
like, oh my God, that voice. And it's even more nasally and higher pitched in Man with Two Brains.
Huh.
Nice.
Yeah, she has a very recognizable voice if she's in anything else. Yeah.
Yep.
The last little piece that I have to bring up here is that this movie loves the band Wasp.
Yeah.
Because OD is he's rocking a Wasp t-shirt. They're watching a Wasp music video in this that is from another Empire movie, Dungeon Master, aka Charlie Band getting the most out of his footage from a movie the previous year, maybe 2 years before.
And that's also a Ted Nicolaou movie too, isn't it? Dungeon Master.
Yeah, he did one of the segments in that. Yeah, it might have been the Wasp one.
I think so. I
I think so. Yeah. Oh my God, that's cool.
Do you guys have any final thoughts on TerrorVision before we switch the channel?
I mean, I'm not gonna like spoil the final shot. I'll just say the final shot is incredible. I love it. I love when movies end. I love when movies end on like a cliffhanger type of scenario where it's like, oh shit, I know what's going to happen next, but I don't want to see it. Like, those are the best types of endings, and I think this one has a perfect one, you know.
It's also kind of weird because the movie is so goofy and whimsical, and yet it's kind of a downer ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it? Like, it's very, yeah. And also I want to give a shout out to Sonny Carl Davis as the satellite repair guy. I just love whenever he pops up. He pops up a lot in Full Moon stuff, particularly like the Evil Bong series.
Yep.
Oh, he's still going strong. That's good to know.
Oh yeah, and like the minute he was on screen, I'm like, oh yeah. Like
I think he's in like all the later Evil Bongs too.
Yeah, like he's got such a weird cadence about him. He's such a strong presence on screen just because of how like kind of he's a little off-putting in like all of his mannerisms, and I just love it. Like, he's just, yeah, Sonny Carl Davis is just one of those guys that I love when he pops up in these types of movies, and I think he's really fun here. So I think he's even more fun in our next movie, Bad Channels.
So
but,
I take
yeah.
I take it he is to Charles Band what Dick Miller was to Roger Corman.
Yeah, kind of. That's a good comparison. Yeah. He does. He pops up in a lot of Charlie Bands productions. So
Also, shout out to Pluthar, the alien who was trying to save our world. You did not deserve your fate.
Yeah, we didn't even bring him up at all. Yeah.
R.I.P.
yeah.
Pluthar.
Another cool John Carl Buechler makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like just generic alien. Like his voice and mannerisms are just generic alien. I love it.
I love how the dome, the helmet he's wearing is obviously plastic because you can see the seam around the top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, boys. What are we giving this movie out of alien tentacles? Out of 5 alien tentacles, what are we giving it?
So initially on my review, I gave it 3.5, but I'm gonna bump it up a whole star. I'm gonna give this 4.5 tentacles out of 5 tentacles. Like this movie. I don't know. I'm really excited to rewatch this.
I will go with. So I grade. If you look at my letterbox, I grade things on a lot harder and probably a much weirder scale than everybody is. Because to me, 3 is the middle, right? So that's average. It's a good movie. There's no such, in my opinion, there's no such thing as a 5 because you can't go any higher than a 5, and so 5 is perfection. There's no such thing, and you can't go any lower than 1 because the fact, even the fact that you managed to turn on the camera should give you at least a little bit of credit. But for sakes and purposes and your show, I will say I will go a 4 on it. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm at a 3.5, but after talking about it, and I feel like after we rewatch it, it's going to get bumped up to a 4. Like, this movie's a blast. It's so much fun.
It's got to be. Oh man! Again, I'm so jealous about the screening you guys got coming up because this is a movie that has to be seen with a crowd.
Yeah.
It's be such a fun crowd movie.
Yep. This is one of those movies, like, I'm going to bring up Chopping Mall because it's a Screams from the
There it
Basement
is.
episode.
Take a shot. Yeah.
Anyways, this movie very much reminded me of Chopping Mall, where like I watched it, I'm like, oh, that was like a really fun time, and I gave it like 3.5 stars, and then like I kept thinking about it, and it just kept like sticking with me, and I was like, more and more as I went along, I'm like, no, there's more that I liked about this movie that I don't even think I realized like watching it, and yeah, it's just kind of turned into this will be up there in my rotation with Chopping Mall as like one of my kind of go-to put on anytime comfort movies. I love this one.
Yeah.
So
I have a feeling you're going to say the same thing about our next movie, and we're talking Bad Channels, 1992. Again, directed by Ted Nicolaou, written by Jackson Barr, who was a staple of early Full Moon movies, who was one of their guys where Charlie would give him a title and a poster and said, write me a movie in a week or two. And he was one of those guys, and this is one of those movies. Let's jump into the plot of this one, because the plot of this one needs more explaining, I think, than TerrorVision. Because the plot of this one's weird. So,
is there a plot? I'm just asking.
There is a plot, Sam. There is a plot. Does it make sense? I don't know. We'll talk. Shock Rock DJ, Dangerous Dan O'Dare. What a great name. Like, that's an awesome name for a movie character and a DJ. He returns to a rock radio station after being kicked off the air for a little while. And in a publicity stunt, he chains himself to his chair inside the radio station and only plays polka music until someone can figure out the padlock code that is wrapped around his neck. When he's on the news, the newscaster basically guesses the right number, 1, 2, 3, in this weird scheme that the two of them came up with for this little publicity stunt. But while that's happening, an alien comes to Earth and takes over the radio station and uses music and music videos specifically to capture women into glass jars for reasons.
Yes.
Can I say, I honestly, like, I'm kind of in love with the fact that this movie doesn't give a reason for it. Like, it doesn't need it. It absolutely doesn't need it. It's so, like, it's just, yeah, this is what's happening. He's kidnapping women in these little like alien jars.
Yeah, it'd ruin it if it had that Plan 9 from outer space moment where the alien just stops dead in his tracks and explains the whole plot. No, we don't
Right.
need it. Don't need it.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, if you're given a poster that has 4 women in tiny glass jars and it's called Bad Channels, what are you going to write?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to write this movie. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what else. Charlie's not giving you much there to work with. This is what you get out of it.
He's like, you get 2 locations total.
Totally. And then Ted Nicolaou's like, "Can I shoot some music videos while we're doing this?" Yes. Okay. I'm on board. Yeah. What a weird movie, but also made weirder by the fact that Blue Oyster Cult does the soundtrack
the score
to this movie. Like, how weird is that?
It's so cool.
I love the score. It's very not Blue Oyster Cult. You know,
Yeah.
like I did not hear any "Don't Fear the Reaper" riffs in this score at all, and I love most of the music video portions in it. So much so that when this movie first came out, I got myself the soundtrack.
Yes.
Which it's got featured songs, so it's got 11 of the featured songs, including one of the polkas, and then tracks 12 through 30 is some of that glorious Blue Oyster Cult score.
That's
and again,
awesome.
it's very sci-fi and electronic-y. Again,
Yeah.
not what you would imagine from Blue Oyster Cult, but it's a great score.
Yeah, it really is. Like that's kind of the thing that struck me was like, you know, I saw their name in the opening credits while a song that very much did not remind me of Blue Oyster Cult was playing. And it just like it threw me for a minute, and I Googled it because I'm like, but it's not that Blue Oyster Cult, right?
It's the other Blue Oyster Cult.
Is. Yeah. I'll show this to you guys one more time, but check this out. So on the cover, if you could see it, so up there at top, Blue Oyster Cult, and then at the bottom, Bad Channels. The text for Blue Oyster Cult is twice as big as Bad Channels.
Yeah. Also, they are still selling that CD on Full Moon's website right now.
It's on vinyl. They did a
Holy crap!
Yeah. God, who put it out? Was it? I don't remember which label, but there's a vinyl of that. I've seen it. I've had it in my grubby little hands and didn't have the money at the time.
Oh my god! Well, there goes my wallet again.
I was gonna say I might be hitting up the Edward Bay after this. To see if it's on. Yeah. This movie is all about music, and like the last movie where it looks like it's a TV show shot like a sitcom, and it's all about television. This one's purely about music and radio.
Yeah.
And like Ted Nicolaou does such a great job. Like we didn't mention him enough, I don't think, in TerrorVision.
Oh no.
Of how he's such a great director. Like I think he's my favorite of the Charles Band collaborators. I guess Stuart Gordon aside, because like that's the hard thing. It's like it's Stuart Gordon, and then it's
besides Stuart Gordon. Yeah.
It's Reanimator, and then every other Empire or Full Moon. Like it's hard.
Right.
It's hard to beat those, but
it's like trying to compare the original Halloween to any of the sequels. It's like there's only one of them, you know.
There's Carpenter and then the others.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. But Ted he's so great. He can do something like the Subspecies series that is straight up just gothic horror. And then you have TerrorVision and Bad Channels that are just like these goofy sci-fi movies that are they're a comedy more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of more what I was expecting from these when I threw them on, I guess, was like, I knew Ted Nicolaou through the Subspecies like movies. And so I was expecting something maybe a little more like dark in tone, which both of these movies have like, I guess, dark moments, but like tonally, I think these are so far removed from what Subspecies does, you know, like Subspecies is straight up just like gothic horror. And these are entirely just like goofy sci-fi horror, which is my shit, man. Like this is like my genre.
Yeah, I agree. The man does not get enough credit. I feel like maybe he is probably pigeonholed by a lot of horror fans by being one of the Full Moon guys. You know, because I mean, I'm with you guys. I love Full Moon too, but let's face it, there's a lot of full moon productions, that just feel like, turn on the camera, jump around for a bit, and get at least 59 minutes and call it a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like poor Ted, since he's never really done too much outside of working with Charles Band, I just think he doesn't get the credit because I feel like his films get lumped in with some of that other full moon, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
stuff. But have you guys ever seen what's the one that he did? I think was outside of full moon that I've seen that I really liked. The Francisville Experiment.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
It's a found footage movie from the year 2000. So
Whoa.
it kind of came in a weird time of like just a little too late after Blair Witch, but way too early before Paranormal Activity and all of that boom. And so it's a really good found footage film. It definitely breaks a lot of the rules of found footage films that we've come to expect nowadays. Of like, why is this camera angle here? And how is there somebody running the camera when there's supposedly nobody else in the scene? But it's still a really good film and very different than a lot of the other films of his that we've been talking about.
Okay, that's going on the watch list.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sounds incredible.
It's
Um,
pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah,
like you said, he's a versatile filmmaker that kind of gets lumped into the odd negative stigma. I think it's
yeah,
very odd, the negative stigma that Full Moon has. I understand that, like, not everything's going to be perfect or great, especially at like not modern Full Moon, just based on budget alone. But that's I mean, that's not to dismiss the great movies that are in there. And I
yeah,
mean, even I raved about his Subspecies 5, which I think
yeah.
is it's the best full moon movie that's come out probably since the end of the Paramount era, and that's going on 20 years now. And it's such a great movie, and obviously he had a little more money than most Evil Bong movies, for example. But
It's
yeah,
still not that
that's
much, right?
still
Like, I mean,
no. I'm
it's
sure
like
that was under $100,000. I'm sure.
if anything, you look at what he's doing with these like Empire full moon sized budgets, and you're like, holy shit, give this guy like I don't necessarily think like it's a little bit like the John Carpenter thing, right? They gave him too much money for like Escape from LA, and that just kind of ended up being a nothing burger. But like, give him like I don't know, the thing money and
Yeah.
see like what Ted Nicolaou could do with like a larger studio budget, you know? I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see it. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
Since we're kind of on the whole full moon thing, can I derail for just a minute now that I have a chance to talk to probably two of the biggest full moon fans that I know?
Absolutely.
Um, so I can't remember if it's your guys' fault or not, but I had recently watched Ginger Dead Man 2.
Passion of the
Yeah.
Crust?
And
Yeah.
I think it was your guys' podcast that like really inspired me to want to watch it. And I loved it, but I freaking hated it at the same time because it's like take Ginger Dead Man out of this picture because you don't. He's not really in it. They
Yep.
like force him into this other script that's going on. Everything else that's going on in that movie is awesome. It's when it gets to the Ginger Dead Man stuff, I'm like, I don't care. It's just the whole storyline is kind of the making fun of and the behind the scenes of a company like Full Moon. Have you guys seen Terra Firma, Troma's movie Terra Firma?
Uh-uh.
No,
Oh,
that's the one of the big ones I have not seen from Troma. Yeah.
that's one of my favorite Tromas, and it's the exact same thing where it's about a production company that's making fun of itself within its and just all the inside jokes that if you're a Charles Band fan at all, you are the only people that are going to pick up on it. So I thought all that stuff was great, but like, man, screw Ginger Dead Man. He just did not be. I mean, they could have done that movie without him. He wasn't even the main bad guy by the end of the movie.
No.
I'm like, they just really felt. I felt like they forced it in there. But anyway, I really derailed way too long. I just wanted to bring that up because it was your guys' fault. I think that I watch Ginger Dead Man 2?
I'll take the blame for it. I raved about Ginger Dead Man 2. That movie rules. Besides Ginger Dead Man, he's the worst part. But yeah, you gave me an idea for a sequel to this episode that we're gonna have to bring you back for. We're gonna do an episode on Terror Firmer and Ginger Dead Man 2 now.
Oh, that's a great pairing. That's a really. It's
gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Yeah. So back to Bad Channels. I want to talk about these music videos, because that's like the big thing. When I first watched this movie, that was the big thing there. I was like, okay, these rule. These are what make the movie for me.
The hospital one's the best.
Oh,
by a mile. It's so good.
Let's go in order, because I want to get to that one. That's my favorite one for sure. So the first one is a glam metal one that's set in a diner by the band Fair Game, which is an all-female band plus lead singer Ron Keel. Sam, I don't know if you know this. Ron Keel he lives in Sioux Falls now.
What?
Yeah. So we have a connection. We have a connection to Bad Channels in this. Yeah,
that's rad.
He plays all the time. I don't know if he plays any Fair Game Songs from Bad Channels. We might have to go watch him sometime to see if he plays any of these songs.
We'll be the two dipshits in the audience yelling "Bad Channels."
Play Blind Faith. Yeah, this one rules. I think this is a great like 80s glam metal song. The music video is a ton of fun. Like it's a blast. Like I think that's why Ted wanted to make this movie, is so he could do these music video interludes in them. And this one's a ton of fun.
Yeah. I would not be surprised too that Charles Band was on board for it, because they probably charged the bands to make the music videos. You know what I mean? Like I could totally see that happening. I mean, it's exposure for these bands for sure. But the music videos, where the rest of the movie has one look and aesthetic to it, the music videos look like music videos. They look the production value and the way they're shot is so much different than the movie itself.
Which is like it lends itself well to it, because like the real world that we're in is a little like dark and grimy, and like there's a lot of muted colors in the like real world stuff, and especially once like the alien takes over the spaceship and it's all that like dark green moss and like shit everywhere. Like when you all of a sudden go into this like hyper stylized, brightly lit and multicolors music videos, it does kind of feel like you're in a trance in a sense. Like those are like they pick up your attention and they kind of suck you in a little bit more.
Sam, I don't know what version you watched of this, but everything looks like a muted color, because the transfer, if there is one, is so bad on Bad Channels.
It's pretty bad on the Full Moon app. That's what I watched it on.
That's what I watched it on too. So I think they only have the VHS.
That wouldn't surprise me, because the aspect ratio was definitely VHS.
Oh yeah.
There were even a few times where it looked kind of like a few of the VHS frames were when you get those squiggly lines at the top and bottom. So
it's one of those movies that I know they've wanted to restore and put out a Blu-ray of, but they don't have the film negatives, and I wish they could. Like this is the one I want them to find the negatives for and upgrade into Blu-ray, because it would look so great and make everything pop, especially in those music videos where they are very stylized, very different. Next music video, it's the grunge one.
In
DMT, Touching Myself Again. Nirvana, you was a fan of Bad Channels, because this is
absolutely
smells like Teen Spirit. Like that's what this is.
Yeah. You got the gymnasium, you got the cheerleaders, you got the grunge. It's all there.
Yep. Yeah. Oh god, yeah. This one ruled.
Because what year is Smells Like Teen Spirit? That's the next year, right?
90. Nevermind came out in like
93,
94.
Or
90 might have been even 94, right?
I'll let you look that up, Sam. It's because Kurt Cobain died in 94, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it had to have been 93.
Oh, actually, no, Nevermind came out in 91.
God damn it, Ted Nicolaou, you stole it from Nirvana.
I thought it was yeah, earlier. Because
Yeah,
I can remember when that album came out, and I think it was
that's right, because
right out of high school.
they still had one left, or well, they did In Utero afterwards,
Yeah.
because that album was there. It was Kurt's like fuck you to radio. And it was still a massive hit because everything that guy did was gold. But
Yeah, this band's a ton of fun. Like I don't know any of these bands outside of this movie, really. Besides like the weird obscure thing of Ron Keel now lives in Sioux Falls.
you've
But
never heard of Blue Oyster Cult?
well, I've heard of a few of their songs before. Will Ferrell is a big fan of them, I think.
More cowbell. Yeah, where's the cowbell in this
Not enough
score?
cowbell in this.
That's right.
Yeah, not enough cowbell in this movie. I will say, like, when I saw Blue Oyster Cult, and then the first band that was like playing was not Blue Oyster Cult, it threw me, because I'm like,
yeah,
no, they were never that glam.
It is weird that there isn't a Blue Oyster Cult music video in this, though.
Isn't it? I thought
It's
so too.
Weird. It's a little weird.
Might have been a little too spendy.
What also is weird about it too is that they have two original songs on the soundtrack as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It
Charlie,
feels like, yeah.
Like you couldn't have thrown Blue Oyster Cult a bone to give them a free music video. Like, come on. And then the last one, I don't know what genre you put these guys in.
I love these guys.
This is Psychotic Symphony, great band name, with their song Manic Depresso. The best one in this. This is the reason I recommend this movie, is this music video alone.
Yep.
So when I first saw this movie, this was back in the day, the VHS days, kids. And I worked at the local movie theater, which had a connected video store. And so the video store would get all these screener copies of movies, and this was one of the screener copies. So I'm watching this before I even realized at first that it was a full moon movie. And when it got to the Psychotic Symphony music video, and that part of the song where, you know, they're singing "I'm So Happy," but it's like the last verse of it, and it cuts and he goes, "I'm lying, it really sucks." I laughed my ass off, and I'm like, I love this band, and I need to have the soundtrack, and now I have the soundtrack, and this is the only physical media version of Psychotic Symphony out there. It's got that song and Mr. Cool, which is the song that plays at the closing credits of the movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's insane. Like, these guys, I don't know if they were like too ahead of the curve. Like, I feel like they would have blown up if like they came out in 1999.
Oh yeah, 99, they would have been the biggest band on the planet. Because like you watch that music video and it feels, honestly, like even like around 01, I feel like it feels like that, like very specific, like almost post 9/11 angst in a way, like that just I don't know. It's such a killer track. I love it.
The music itself really reminds me of, I don't know what type of genre you would group this in, but if you guys are familiar with bands like Mr. Bungle or Mindless Self-Indulgence.
Yep.
Just like songs that starts off in one tone and then takes like 50 different turns before it gets to the end of the song. Like you would never be able to play these songs live. But I mean, they did. That's all they did was play live as a band. But
yeah.
Oh yeah, and like their costumes too. Like one of them's like a nun, one's a like clown. Like it makes no sense what they're wearing either. Like
lead singer's wearing a cow outfit.
Yeah, with a giant yellow wig. Like he looks like freaking Beavis from Beavis and Butthead with the wig on. Like I don't know how these guys didn't blow up. It's kind of insane. They probably should have.
Yeah.
Their whole aesthetic is just so appealing to me. That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff I like and I love when it comes to music.
I wonder if they're still playing now.
No, I did do some research. They founded in 1988, and then they broke up by 1994. So, like you were saying, if they would have hit in 99, they probably would have made it, but they didn't last till then, unfortunately. But I have found several of their songs on Spotify, so there you go.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got to throw out a couple names in here of other characters that we have in this movie. Speaking of music, MTV's Martha Quinn
Yep.
she's the lead of this movie, as much as Dangerous Dan O'Dare is the lead of this movie. She plays this like TV reporter, Lisa Cummings, who is sort of the love interest, but she's
She
really the
is,
one
because they're like fully making out at the end.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
Where did that come from? They just met each other. I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I'm like, those kids are moving way too fast.
I feel like she's covered his bullshit before.
It's that trope of two characters that are obviously set up to be the love interests, but they absolutely despise each other at the beginning.
Yeah.
And through the course of action of the film, they end up together by the end. But yeah, you want to talk about Ted Nicolaou leaning into the themes of these two movies, like how satirical he is, and about like the TV genre with TerrorVision, and then with this one with music, and like just hitting the nail on the head. Let's just straight up cast Martha Quinn, the number one MTV VJ, to be the female lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, he's pulling. He's not just pulling like from the MTV era of radio and music. He's also pulling like this guy's doing a War of the Worlds. Like he's doing an Orson Welles where he's talking about aliens coming to Earth and they're in the radio station and no one believes him. They're like, this guy's nuts. Like he's doing this crazy stunt where aliens are inside of the studio and no one believes him. And again,
that's a really good point. Yeah.
It's The Boy Who Cried Wolf, where he does this stunt in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and everyone's like, well, that was bullshit. You had the TV guy answer correctly to win this car or whatever. And now in the second half, it's like, oh, there's an alien here, and he's kidnapping women and turning them into little people in glass jars for some reason. Yeah, it makes no sense. But like, again, it's The Boy Who Cried Wolf thing. Let's talk about these women in the jars, because again, like I said, it makes no sense. It happens in the music video. So basically the alien takes over the radio station and he just starts messing with the radio station. And at some point when people are listening to it, the music video happens, but it's only in the girls' heads, I guess.
Yeah, somehow the radio waves are projecting some kind of like hypnosis to these girls. Women, specifically even though they're all listening to radios out in the open in front of everyone else, they're directed towards him. And the alien has this weird little monitor screen that he can kind of see through their radio, so he's like seeing through the radio waves at that specific person that he's targeting for shrinkage.
Yeah. And the first girl he captures is Charlie Spradling, who was at this time Miss Full Moon. She was like literally besides Charlie, was the spokesperson for Full Moon that would sell you the Puppet Master trading cards and probably the CD that you have, Mike. I'm sure she was promoting that at the end of the Bad Channels VHS. Yeah, like it's like Full Moon does feel like a family of people that just float in and out of all of these movies, and her definitely being one of them. That was a Full Moon staple for a very long time. And Cookie, I believe, is the character that appears in it's a sequel to this. There's a sequel to Bad Channels. I don't know if you know this.
It's Bunny. It's Bunny that
appears.
It's
Bunny is. Okay.
Yeah. It's the cheerleader from the gym, the one that can't play cymbals.
She's brunette, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay, it's weird because in the sequel, the sequel to this movie is Doll Man versus Demonic Toys, where it's a blonde girl.
Okay.
But it must be the same character, I guess, which is weird that Doll Man is hanging out with a high school cheerleader.
So the end credits scene did not like. I didn't understand it, but that's because I haven't seen Doll Man, I guess.
That's Doll Man.
Yeah. Okay. So Yeah, I did. I knew there was an end credit sequence, so I stayed through it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Shit, I was gonna say something. I forgot. Someone
Well,
save me.
for forget the MCU and Charles Band I
Right?
maybe has the rights to sue, but like Charles Band did the cinematic universe first, including the post credit sequence that starts tying it all together. Like Doll
Mhm.
Man is kind of sort of the Samuel L. Jackson
Yep.
of the full
He
mooniverse.
is.
The full mooniverse.
Yep. So much so, and I've talked about it on the show, and I'm going to do it again. They made a comic book called Doll Man Kills the Full Moon Universe, where he's the connecting
Oh, I need
tissue
that.
between even more stuff besides bad channels and demonic toys. He connects to like subspecies and Dr. Mordred and Puppet Master and literally everything you can think of he connects to. But again, yeah, started in 1992 on a VHS tape of having Tim Thomerson show up at the end of Bad Channels.
See, and I do love Full Moon. I really do, despite my comments earlier. But one of the things I do love about them is how inventive they were. I mean, no one else was doing connecting tissues at the time, and Charles Band wanted that. And also, too, Charles Band, I feel like, needs to sue the DVD companies because he also invented the special features.
Mm-hmm.
Back on
Yeah.
VHS, every VHS full moon movie had the full moon video magazines, and I loved those things. I mostly rented full moon movie. I rented every full moon movie back in the day, whether I cared about the movie or not. I just wanted to see the full moon magazine at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Dude, there's so much that like band has pioneered in this. Like I mean, Casey and I both have recently like read through his memoir, and he's got stuff in there about like starting a video game company before horror video games were a thing, and like it got shut down because it wasn't kid appropriate. And like now it's like horror games are, especially in the year 2024, like all the big video games this year have
Oh
been like
yeah,
horror
Mm-hmm.
titles, you know.
yeah.
I mean, this guy's a pioneer, and I love it. I love I just love the spirit of this company and just what these movies are. Like they aren't hindered by the fact that they don't have the most money or anything like that. They're just
Yeah.
like it's not a bug, it's the feature, you know? Like it's the point. Like I just this is a company that tells you anybody can pick up a camera and make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
love that. I love that so much.
Agreed.
All right, gentlemen, final thoughts on Bad Channels. How many tiny women in jars are you giving this movie out of 5?
This one, like I just finished watching this about an hour before we hopped onto this call because I tried watching it this weekend and my tired ass fell asleep. Um, so like literally within like 20 minutes of starting this movie. Not the movie's fault, totally me. But yeah, I'm gonna try not to over hype it, but I'm gonna say 3.5. I'm gonna say 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
And on rewatches, probably closer to 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going with 3.5. I feel like TerrorVision is probably more fun.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of fun to be have with Bad Channels. A lot of that is in the music videos, though. Um,
Yeah.
and in anytime we're dealing with the aliens themselves is kind of fun. But there's just like moments that there's just some moments that kind of slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's probably where it loses a little bit more for me than TerrorVision. Um, but I will say too that the movie gets like 10 stars for being one of the greatest examples of padding your movie. Like we take like such a tiny little script. Like if we take out those music videos, this movie would be what, like 30, 40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we pad it with music videos. Not since Herschel Gordon Lewis's Gruesome Twosome, where he started the movie with 5 minutes of two wig blocks talking. Has there been a better example of padding your movie? And I love it.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm at a 3 on this movie. I think it's a ton of fun. I feel like once this movie, if this movie gets its upgrade to Blu-ray, where I can watch it in like all of its glory on the way like it was shot, you know, it's still shot on film in 1992. Like I feel like once this gets that upgrade, I'm gonna bump this up a little more, just because it is a little rough around the edges watching any version that's on Tubi or the Full Moon app or any way that you watch this. But yeah, the music videos for me are the best part. It's worth the price of admission alone to watch the Psychotic Symphony music video in this. Like that for me is the cream of the crop of this movie. But yeah, Bad Channels is a ton of fun, and again, it has that classic Full Moon spirit to this movie. So I think all of us definitely recommend this movie.
Yeah, this was the best double feature we've done on this podcast in a while.
Wow.
Amazing. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think Sam's a fan.
Yeah.
He's been won over.
You guys, like, I mean, these are movies that, well, feature Sonny Carl Davis, and that's just, you know. But also just like, I don't know, this type of horror is the type of horror that really appeals to me. It's the kind of goofy sci-fi horror, aliens, monsters from outer space. If you can include technology, especially like at the time it wasn't dated, but like especially dated technology. I'm such an analog guy that I love like my VHSs and my VCRs and my cassette tapes and all that. Like I still have a Walkman, you know, like so I love this. This was such a fun double feature. 5 stars for the whole like double feature experience.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like when we did Grindhouse, and I was like, both of these movies are not like, they're not necessarily 5-star movies, but like the experience itself is like 5 stars,
absolutely.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
All right, Sam, as our runtime is getting probably to the length of both of these movies, what's up next on the show?
Well, like any good mixtape, there's got to be a little dip, right? And then you ramp back up, okay?
Yeah.
So like, just bear with us, because I would be remiss. We are going to do some Screaming Mad news, and it's not happy Screaming Mad news. I'm pretty sure we made Tad talk about something pretty fucking depressing when he was on too. So Mike, you're in good company. Yeah. So Screaming Mad news. Shelley Duvall passed away this past week, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't pay tribute to her. I know she wasn't necessarily like always she wasn't always in horror movies. It's not like she was only in horror movies, but she was in one of the greatest horror movies of all time, and she's arguably like, I mean, this might be blasphemous to say, but I genuinely think she's the best part of that movie. Like, she is the heart and soul of that movie, and obviously we're talking about The Shining. I think so many of the iconic moments in that movie are attributed to her. The axe coming through the door with her screaming in the background, like the staircase scene where she's fending Jack Nicholson off with the bat. Just the look of terror on her face as she's holding Danny and like realizing her husband's going insane. Like those are the biggest images that stick with me. Like there are a few Nicholson ones too, you know, and obviously like the bear fellatio is like, you know, something that like burns into you. But like
also her never-ending cigarette is one of the most iconic images of the movie.
Exactly. Who doesn't love the meme where someone photoshopped the ash to like literally extend out of the frame? Like Shelley Duvall's she's an icon of horror despite not having been like a mainstay in the genre. Like, and I don't know. I love her. I wanted to give her a shout out on the cast. You know, rest in peace to a fucking legend. Mm-hmm. She's great. So
I've always been a fan of hers, and I always felt like she got probably one of the rawest deals ever from Hollywood. Just not recognized for truly the genius that she was. I don't know, because this definitely predates you guys. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but she produced this show back in the 80s. I think it was either for Showtime or HBO. I don't remember. Called Fairy Tale Theater. That
I've heard of it.
she did this show for kids, wrangling all of her Hollywood friends to be in all these different episodes. Just basically retelling with these live action um, uh, stories of all these different fairy tales, and the show was great. It was a great show. Um, I feel like it's a show that would still hold up if you could find it anywhere. And she was the mastermind behind the whole thing, and it was a genius move on her part, and it was a big hit at the time too. And then it just disappeared, and then she went into obscurity after that, which is a bummer. So
Jeez,
I feel like
yeah.
she had so much more to contribute, and she did contribute a lot that she doesn't really get the recognition she deserves for.
Right.
Yeah, she definitely had a rough go of it, and especially later in life too. But I feel like she at least got to live into the age of the internet, social media, of like people like us recognizing, oh my god, like Shelley Duvall rules.
Yeah.
Like her
Yeah.
performances rule. Like watching Popeye as a kid, it's like, yeah, she's
Love
awesome.
Popeye.
I mean, she
She's
brings a
awesome.
cartoon character to glorious
Literally.
life. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
literally it's
She's a better cartoon character in that movie than Robin Williams.
yeah, which is insane because he was just a live action cartoon his entire life. Like,
exactly.
It honestly, like, her Olive Oil is on the same level as like Matthew Lillard's Shaggy, as far as like, holy shit,
Oh,
how
yeah,
did
it's a
you
good
get like
comparison.
a live action cartoon that perfectly?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
That's good company to be in. She's
Mhm.
she was a legend. Her legacy will live on forever because of her work. So rest in peace,
Absolutely.
Shelley Duvall.
Rest in peace. All right, guys.
Transition out of that, Sam.
Transition out of this. we're gonna bring the build up again, and we're gonna end on like I don't know, a pumping Bon Jovi track. You know, like every good mixtape. Guys, what have you been doing?
My mixtapes do not end on Bon Jovi tracks. I'm just saying. It might have it like third or fourth song in.
I was about to say, I know your music taste. All of your mixtapes have at least one Bon Jovi track.
No. Oh, they'll have it in there. It's not ending on a Bon Jovi track. That's for sure. I'll jump in here first because I have.
Because you have a laundry list.
Sam,
I know.
notes. I have like a dozen things, but I'll run through them pretty.
I warned Mike that you had like 12 things, and I told him that you always say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna run through these quickly," and then you take 45 fucking minutes on it.
I'm sure.
Leave no time for the rest of us.
So I'm gonna go slow through all of these, breaking down each one of these as long as we talked about TerrorVision and Bad Channels. No, I'll be quick. The first one on here, I watched The Raven, which I was meaning to watch some sort of Corman and Vincent Price movie.
Okay.
That
I was like, which one? The good one, the okay one, or the John Cusack horrible one?
I like the Cusack one for what it is. It's not.
It
fine.
is what it is.
This one. I mean, I can't go too much into the greatness of Vincent Price and Roger Corman here, but this is not the movie I was expecting. I knew nothing about the movie going in besides it was Corman and Vincent Price doing Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, which is my favorite Edgar Allan Poe story.
Barely doing Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven.
I mean, there is a raven in it. There's
a raven.
That's about it.
Vincent Price does the poem at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then it becomes like a guy gets turned into a raven, and it's a fucking weird movie.
It's just a madcap magical comedy.
It is. It's a
so
weird
fun.
movie. I had a ton of fun watching it. It is not the movie I expected at all, and I was happily surprised.
Yeah.
Next one I watched, Hobo with a Shotgun. Speaking of the Grindhouse double feature, this is one of the movies in that world that I had never seen before. I would say it's the best. It's the best of that Grindhouse world for me. I think it's the one I would put on to rewatch again and again after this. Like, it's the one that I feel gets that Grindhouse aesthetic down more than the two Grindhouse movies.
Fair.
Because it's literally it's a 90-minute just straight up revenge movie. it gives you exactly what the title is: a hobo with a shotgun blowing people away. That's the movie. It's awesome. I rewatched Digging Up the Marrow, which is a Adam Green movie. Sam, I don't know if you've ever seen this one.
I have never seen this one. This is one of the Adam Green blind spots for me.
Okay.
Oh, great movie.
We're going to have to do this one. I think this might be my favorite Adam Green movie. I love this movie so much.
Okay. We should do this with Frozen because that's my favorite Adam Green movie.
Okay. We can, I'd be down for that. It's the best Frozen movie.
It is. by a long shot, yeah.
But Digging Up the Marrow, it's a mockumentary movie. It's Adam Green making a mockumentary, and Ray Weiss plays like this guy who's like obsessed with these monsters that he saw as a kid and still sees as an adult that come out of this hole in the ground that he calls the marrow. But he's the only person that's ever seen them. And Ray Weiss is so goddamn good in this movie. It's insane. He should not be this good in this kind of movie. It's incredible. I love it. It's set in like the Adam Green world as well. So you get a lot of references to his other work. Kane Hodder shows up as himself in the movie.
Yeah.
You get other directors popping in as well. Mick Garris needs some acting lessons, but that's besides the point. But this movie is a ton of fun. I love it. It's a blast.
Yeah, I love that movie a lot too. And it got a lot of flack for being a found footage movie, but casting Ray Weiss as a character when everybody knows who Ray Weiss is. And I'm like, you know what? I love found footage movies, but I don't give a rat's ass about trying. I mean, there's going to be some of those movies out there that, their point is trying to convey realism and trying to give you the illusion that maybe what you're watching is real. But that's not all found footage movies. Found footage is a style choice, not a type of movie. And he was just basically going for that documentary aesthetic style, but still telling a fictional narrative however he felt he wanted to tell it. And casting Ray Weiss, it's like you said, is genius because he is so damn good in it. So who cares?
Well,
listen, people. Adam Green isn't hunting monsters in his spare time. Spoiler alert.
Exactly.
So get over it. It's a movie. I watched the I don't know what year this is, like 2007, I think, movie called The Outpost, which has Ray Stevenson in it and Richard Brake, and it's one of those Nazi zombie movies. It's one of those Nazi zombie movies. It doesn't do anything different with that type of formula. It's an okay action horror movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't it doesn't try to reinvent the concept. Watched for the first time because I realized there's 4 of these goddamn movies. I watched Pumpkinhead 2 for the first time as I'm going to make my way through the apparent Pumpkinhead universe of 4 movies. I mean, this one's
good luck with those last 2, man.
Oh no. I'm also not I'm not like the biggest Pumpkinhead fan. I like Pumpkinhead, but I'm not like in love with Pumpkinhead. I like the character.
He's an insane person. I
like the character of Pumpkinhead and the creature more than I like the actual movie.
Agreed. That's my take on it too. Yeah.
I'm 2 crazy people. No, what?
I guess
the movie's
that's a masterpiece.
The movie is still really good. I'm not knocking the movie. I'm just saying, like, that monster design is freaking amazing.
It is. Yes, I agree. Like, I think the monster design is the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
God, that whole movie, like, I love that movie. That isn't every, like, the minute the leaves start falling off the trees, I'm fucking watching Pumpkinhead. Like,
hey, fair enough. You're not gonna like this take then, Sam. I think Pumpkinhead 2 is just as good as Pumpkinhead.
I've never seen any of the sequels. I will check out 2 on your recommendation, and if it's not as good as 1, I'm gonna go out to the woods and get a witch to like put a little revenge curse on you. So
hey, that's fine. I at least get to turn into a cool monster then.
I do like Pumpkinhead 2 a lot as well, and that was directed by Jeff Burr. I thought he did a good job with it, and it's got my Linnea Quigley in it, so that gets points as well. So,
Yes,
and it's definitely way better than 3 and 4. So,
Oh, it's a Linnea
warning you now.
movie.
She's in
it's a
Ussie.
Linnea movie.
Okay, yeah, that's why Casey loves it then.
Exactly. And there's a reason they hired Linnea for that.
I assume it's
of,
probably a similar reason to what every movie hires Linnea for from this era.
yeah, because she's awesome, Sam.
Yeah.
I'll back you up, Casey. I'll back you up. I'm with you.
No,
I'll
I
tell you
love
what.
Linnea.
I've always been a giant Linnea Quigley fan, dating back to when I was in high school, and I mean so much so I've put her in my movies. But I have always said, as much as it's great to see, the goods. My favorite film of hers is Sorority Babes, and it's because she's the second main character.
Mm-hmm.
She's a badass in it.
Mm-hmm.
She survives, and she
Yeah.
doesn't take her clothes off. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want more of that.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite of hers too. I do love her in Night of the Demons though.
Oh, she's great in Night of the Demons.
That
too.
movie's
Yeah.
so good.
Mm-hmm. I'm a trash guy, but
oh yeah,
I
iconic.
She gets to do best of both worlds for me in that movie. Speaking of Linnea, I want to talk about one of her good friends, Brink Stevens, because I watched. I'm sure, Mike, you have seen this movie, Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity.
Yes, absolutely,
yeah.
Great movie.
So I'm doing a little prep for something me and Sam have planned involving Miss Brink Stevens. But this movie's so much fun. Again, we talked about with TerrorVision and Bad Channels where there's nothing like it. There's nothing like like Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity. Like This movie's like the most dangerous game, but like set in space with a dude hunting chicks from different planets. Like it's a wild movie. It's so much fun.
Fun fact for you: the lead in that actor by the name of Carl Fuller was one of my teachers when I attended the Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
What?
Yeah, and we used to tease him because we had found when we first found out he was in this movie, we went all over Pittsburgh to different video stores to try to track it down, and we found a copy. And he did not live it down to the rest of the semester. So.
That's awesome. Sam, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that movie.
Yeah, I'm stoked to catch up to you on this binge because all of them you've had pretty good things to say about so far. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm gonna dig this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something I'm gonna say this on the show, but we're gonna talk about it after the show. Mike, we need to talk about Brink Stevens after the show.
Okay.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Absolutely.
My last couple that I have on here, these are all new releases that I'm trying to catch up on. I think they're all from one of them's from last year, but the rest are all new releases from this year. Speaking of giant pumpkin heads, I watched Dark Harvest. Sam, was this in your top 10 last year?
I believe this was an honorable mention. I don't think it quite made my top 10, but it was close. I liked this movie. I didn't love it. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. I have very similar thoughts on Dark Harvest as I do Pumpkinhead. Of like, I love the monster, I love the world, I don't love the movie. Mm-hmm. And maybe I just love like giant scarecrow Halloween creatures with pumpkins for heads. I think I have a type. Like that's just my thing. The plot is really weird. I don't know. Like it's super weird. I didn't love it, but like it's one I feel like I'm gonna watch every October still.
Yeah. So I mean, I've kind of talked at length. I don't need to talk too much about it, but we had a long text exchange after you finished watching it where I was like, the book is a lot different, especially when you get into the third act. And I've got a copy of it that I can lend you. That's not my like super rare. I spent way too much money on a signed hardcover copy of it. It's one of my favorite books ever. The movie is good, you know? Yeah.
I feel like we'll talk about this movie again in October because I feel like both of us will rewatch it then.
We'll have rewatched it, yeah.
A new release from this year. Finally watched Tarot. PG-13 horror film. Yeah, baby.
Hey, sometimes those kick ass.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're a fine 3-star movie, and that's what Tarot is. It's a fine PG-13 teenage
gateway horror
movie. Yep.
Yeah.
My review, all I said was I can't wait for Mike Mike Flanagan to inevitably make the prequel Tarot Origin of Evil. Because this movie is just Ouija, but with tarot cards.
That's the vibe I got from the trailer for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's better than Ouija, though. It's better than the first Ouija. I'll give it that.
Good. Okay.
Next up, I watched Night Swim. I think you watched this, Sam, right?
Yes. I don't know. The only thing I remember from it is Wyatt Russell going, "We have a pool," which is one of my favorite line readings ever of the year. But like, yeah, overall, that movie did not leave much of an impression on me.
It's the spooky haunted swimming pool movie. I don't know what to say about it.
But also the spooky haunted swimming pool. Oh wait, I do remember one other thing. The spooky haunted swimming pool gives Wyatt Russell super baseball powers.
Yeah, it does.
And he upstages his kid at his little league practice.
Yep.
I wish the rest of that movie had leaned into that absurdity because
it's way too. Blumhouse takes their movies way too seriously.
Yes.
Spooky haunted swimming pool movie does not need to be as serious.
It should have ended with Wyatt Russell and his son using super baseball powers on each other. Like, that's what it should have done.
Yep. And then the last two that I had. Oh, I have one more. Stop motion. I watched on Shudder. This movie's super weird. Like, I loved it. It's like this woman's stop motion puppets coming to life. It's one of the weirdest movies I've seen this year. It's one of the most unique and inventive and original movies to come out in 2024. Super fun. Don't sleep on stop motion. It's a blast.
Okay.
Yeah, I just watched it recently too. I really dug it. But anytime a movie has stop motion in it, I want to see it because I love those effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this one, it's really cool.
Mike, have you seen a movie called I, Madman?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's been forever, but I remember that one. Yeah.
Dude, I love that movie. Casey and I are probably going to do an episode covering that one. It's one of my favorites. Totally underseen classic. I have the out of print Scream Factory Blu-ray of that.
Nice.
And it is one of my prized movie possessions.
God, I haven't seen it in years. Is it streaming anywhere? I should probably rewatch it.
It was on Tubi for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. It was on Tubi. It might be on Pluto potentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to track it down because it's been forever. I remember liking it. That's about all.
Yeah. I love that movie. So
last two that I have, two new releases still in theaters. I'm going to not say hardly anything about these movies. One is Maxine, which is the final film in the X trilogy from Ty West and Mia Goth. This one's about sleazy 80s Los Angeles and about the film industry of the time. I didn't like this movie. I didn't like Maxine. It's the weakest of the three for me. I still think it's worth a watch because Mia Goth is incredible in this. I think there's so many great homages that Ty West is definitely known for. There is some New York Ripper vibes in this, which I was really, really vibing with because like that's the movie I was kind of expecting. I don't know. It just feels like there's maybe too much going on in this movie and maybe should have focused a little bit more on a singular plot thread than the multiple ones it tries to weave into this. Mia Goth is incredible. Like she's awesome. I don't know. Maybe I'll like it more on a rewatch, but it didn't do a whole lot for me on the first time.
Yeah. So we watched this one together and I definitely came out of it liking it more than you did. I think it's the second, but I'd rank them X, Maxine, and then Pearl. And I love all three of them. Pearl's the one that does the least for me, I guess. Maxine is very good. I kind of actually liked the lackadaisical pacing. I felt like it was kind of the aimless, almost like hangout movie vibe of the first two acts felt very giallo to me. And in that sense, the third act kind of does work because you're also kind of like in the third act happens and no spoilers, but you're kind of like, oh, what the hell? Like, it's just weird. And it's like, it's predictable, but it's also like a bizarre tonal shift all of a sudden that only kind of works. So it doesn't end the strongest. I don't know. I've grappled with this one. And we'll talk about another one that I've also grappled with. But I think I lean more positively on Maxine than the other one we'll talk about. I liked Vaccine. I think it's worth checking out. I do think you need to check your expectations because I don't know if it's quite on the level as like for me what X was and for what a lot of people what Pearl was.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, I think it's still worth checking out. And yeah, Mia Goth is incredible. Actually really liked Kevin Bacon in it. He's camping it up really. And like he's weird in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah. Maxine was good.
Last one, I watched Long Legs twice in the theater this past weekend, opening weekend. Me and Kayla went and watched it on opening night on Thursday, just because I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I don't want anyone to spoil this. I have to just go see this. I loved it. Kayla didn't like it, which is fair. She doesn't like Nicolas Cage very much, which is fine. I love Nicolas Cage. Like he might be top 3.
I thought you were going with I love my wife anyways.
Oh, I do love her anyways. And she likes Nicolas Cage in some stuff, but like it's not like to my level where he's like top 3 favorite actor ever.
Yeah.
I love Nicolas Cage. He's incredible in this movie. I loved him so much in this. And then I went and watched it the next night again in the theaters. It was a completely different experience. Second go around. Long Legs is my favorite movie of the year. Go watch it. The hype. Maybe keep in check. I don't know. I don't know what audiences are thinking about this movie. It's not the movie that you probably expect going in. And maybe that's all I'll say. I loved it. Yeah. Long Legs rules.
And this is where I come in on Long Legs. I also saw this movie this weekend. I only saw it once.
Slacker.
So Casey, up until a certain point in this movie, I was with you. The first 2 acts of this movie are incredible. The vibe, the atmosphere they set up are just like, it's just... The first act in particular had me like tensed up. Like I could feel my shoulders up at my neck. Like I was kind of like leaned back into the seat. Like, oh God, what am I watching? This is like, there was just this dread. And the longer the movie went on, the less that hold stayed on me. Like it was just kind of, I felt myself kind of like slacking. And there's a pivot about 2/3 of the way into this movie. And I won't say the scene, but like, there's just one scene where it's just, the movie takes a sharp turn, a little bit like Maxine, but it didn't work for me, like at all. The third act just fell apart for me. And it bums me out so much to say that. I still gave this one a positive review. I think there's enough about this movie that's incredible that I think people should see, but I don't think it's going to make my top 10 list this year. And it's just because that ending just does not, it kind of falls apart for me. But Micah Monroe, she should be like, not even one of the nominees. I'm just going to say it. Micah Monroe should win the Oscar this year. I don't care what comes out in the next 5 months. Micah Monroe should have it. She's incredible in this movie. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the best performance. I think it's her best performance.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best horror performances we've seen this year. And that's a pretty stacked category in general. Like there have just been a ton of great lead performances in horror movies. And I think she just steals it with this. So yeah, Long Legs is a little bit more of a light recommendation from me. Go into it. Honestly, I would say go into it with tempered expectations. Didn't quite live up to the hype for me. And just be prepared for a third act that's gonna maybe be a little different than what you expected it to be. And that's why I'm excited to revisit this eventually. Because on a second viewing, it might work a little differently, I feel like. And I know you said the second viewing was very different for you. So I don't know. Yeah. Looking forward to revisiting this one when it comes out in like home media. But yeah, first watch just didn't quite knock it out of the park for me.
Yeah. All right. That's my laundry list. I'm done. I'll shut up. Yeah.
Mike, what have you been doing, man?
Okay. Well, most recently just got back from the weekend in Burlington, Iowa for the Snake Alley Festival of Film 2024. Yeah. And, it was a great year. A lot of amazing films. It's all short films. so much fun. They usually go from Thursday till Sunday, and I was only there for the last block on Friday, all the way to the end on Sunday. Um, One movie in particular that I'll talk about, one short that I'll talk about that is at the top of my brain, is a film called Dream Creep. So it's this man and woman, husband and wife, in bed asleep, and the man is woken up to the sounds of his wife screaming and calling his name, but she's in bed asleep next to him. So he's like, "What is
Ooh.
going on?" But the sounds are coming from her, and he leans into her ear where she's screaming. She is able to communicate to him while she's having this horrible nightmare of some kind of demon or some kind of creature stalking her and trying to kill her and take over her body. And she tells him, do not wake me up because it will kill me." And so he doesn't know what to do. And eventually, she talks him into getting the meat thermometer from the kitchen and shoving it into her ear to kill the monster that's in her head. And so he does this, and it's like there's blood everywhere. It's really gross and gory. But come to find out, it didn't kill the demon, and bad stuff happens all the way around. And the performance, the female lead of this film was amazing. She was so good um, in it. And there's just a lot of blood. It was pretty gruesome. So that's one of the top on my list right now of from the weekend, especially in the horror category.
Hell
Is
yeah.
Dead Creep. I don't know if you could find it online anywhere, but it's a really good short. A couple other things I'll just mention. I have a 16-year-old son, so he's at the age now that I feel like I can start exposing him to a lot more movies that dad likes. And he has definitely grown to have more of appreciation for horror now. And so the other day, I'm like, look at him like, "Son, how would you like to see probably the bloodiest movie ever made?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." So we popped in Dead Alive.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and oh my god, uh, he loved it. There's nothing cooler than like showing a movie that you love to your offspring, and they get it and they love it and they're having such a good time with it. The minute the priest says, "I kick ass for the Lord," he laughed hysterically in tears through that entire sequence of him fighting the zombies. So it was so much fun, so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll bring up, I think I brought it up on my show, but there was a movie. I feel like I should campaign this movie because no one knows about it. It's found it on Tubi. It's from 2021. It's called Crabs. Have you guys seen it or
I've
heard of it?
heard of this, and I actually think I just recently heard of it on your recent
Yeah, I was gonna
episode.
say I heard you
Oh, okay.
talk about it on
That
your
would be
show.
it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'll just say real quick since I already talked about it on there is that it's a horror comedy that I found randomly on Tubi, and it's way better than that. You know, you think, oh, some newer horror comedy that's on Tubi, it's probably not very good, but it was actually a lot of fun and has a giant kaiju fight at the end, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. That one sounds awesome. Like that I can't wait to watch though.
That does.
Sam, what about you? What have you been doing?
Aside from Maxine and Longlegs, I've actually just been watching I've been going through Weeds. I recently fell in love with that show. Not horror, so
Oh.
won't talk about it here. But God, Mary Louise Parker, just incredible. Anyways, I after we went to the Lincoln thing, the Saturday of Screams with Hayden Newman and Mark Patton, Kayla was talking about Over the Garden Wall, that
Mhm.
like kids fan like kind of dark fantasy miniseries, and we binged that like on a I don't know random weekend day, and like holy crap, this show's incredible. And there's so much like creepy horror imagery. Like I don't
Mhm.
necessarily think I'd call it horror, but I think there is enough horror elements for like genre fans to really love, especially if you're into like dark fantasy stuff. Episode 2 is my favorite. That's the one where they go to the like land with all the people with pumpkins on their like jack-o'-lanterns on their heads. That episode just blew me away. I loved it. And it goes like to a surprisingly dark place towards the end of it. And I don't know. I kind of fell in love with this series. Like it's incredible. And I kind of like, I don't know. It slipped under my radar for the last 10 years. And I'm glad I finally watched it. Highly recommend Over the Garden Wall, which I think is still currently streaming on Hulu. That's where I watched
for a little while yet.
For a little while longer. Yeah.
It is really good and so different and unique than you would expect too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It wasn't at all what I expected going into it. Just incredible. And also I'm a loyal fan of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob. And so I watched Dr. Giggles with him last week. And I'd never seen this movie before. Totally loved it. Larry Drake is amazing in it. Like the Band-Aid kill is my favorite. Like the giant Band-Aid kill is so good. Like, this movie is so goofy and zany. And the Joe Bob presentation was tons of fun. He's just really been killing it this season. Just in terms of like the movies he's been showing and just the different themes for the episodes. I've loved this season of The Last Drive-In. And yeah, the Dr. Giggles episode was just another like knock it out of the park. And thankfully it was a movie that I hadn't watched in the last like 48 hours, like 2 other episodes prior. So that's all I've really been doing, you know. And I got a Frogman VHS that I forgot to bring in with a scratch and sniff label that smells like Frogman, and it is pungent. Frogman doesn't smell good, guys. Brought me right back to my Nickelodeon scratch and sniff days. It was like, yep.
It's one of those bad Bean Boozled jelly beans, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And like, I mean, I'm an idiot, so like I scratched it and then I got really up in there and took like a deep breath in and like immediately almost started like coughing. So Frogman fucks. You should definitely check that movie out. But yeah.
Frogman does fuck. Know what else fucks? This show. And if you think so, Sam, where can they find this show?
You can find this show anywhere you get podcasts. You can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and if you want the video, you can check us out on the YouTube.
You sure can. Please hit that like or whatever follow button on the social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We have some TikToks out there on the interwebs. We're trying to do what those kids do on the TikToks.
Yes.
What else do we got to plug?
You can pick up exclusive Screams from the Basement merch, including t-shirts, hats, totes, and a ton more on our TeePublic store. Yeah, Casey's got Screams from the Basement
I know,
hat.
these hats are pretty cool.
They actually, the hats turned out nice. I like the hats. So, you can check that out on our TeePublic store. Just search Screams from the Basement. We're the only Screams from the Basement store on there. So, yeah.
We sure are. You can also use our Fangoria affiliate link. You can go to shop.fangoria.com/Screams from the Basement and use promo code Screams from the Basement. Save 20% on Fangoria. I think the only thing else we have to plug is our sponsor for this month. Once again, Terror Cards. Go download that app and do some trading cards with some other horror nerds on there. You can play battles. You can unbox some awesome cards on there, including a lot of Brink Stevens cards on in that game. And like I said, you can also purchase some physical cards on that app as well.
Yeah, add us. I'm at Sam the Damned.
Sam the Damned. Okay, I'm just at my name. I'm at Casey.
I didn't want to just do my name. I wanted a cool name for Terror Cards, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Last but not least, let's plug once again. TerrorVision playing at the Sioux Falls State Theater on Friday, whatever date that is.
July 19th.
July 19th at the Sioux Falls State Theater. TerrorVision on the big screen. we'll be presenting that at Screens from the Basement. We'll be doing some trivia beforehand. We saved some stuff that we didn't talk about on this episode for that as well. So go buy your tickets, and you can just get them on the website, siouxfallsstatetheater.org, or at the box office that evening as well. And then I guess I already said last but not least, we have one more thing to plug, I guess. I don't know what the term is for after last but not least. But anyway, Mike, where can people follow Attack of the Killer podcast and give us a plug for Halloween-a-Palooza as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, you can find Attack of the Killer podcast anywhere you can find podcasts. I do recommend checking out the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, which is our network that we all are on and we all love. And you can find all kinds of great shows on there. We're also on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, probably MySpace for all I know. We're just everywhere. And so Halloween-a-Palooza is our big event we have every year in Ottumwa, Iowa, for all of our love of horror and Halloween. We have an international film festival with movies from all around the world, and an amazing theater at the Bridgeview Center. Tons and tons of vendors, a lot of celebrities. This year's theme is Nightmare on Elm Street. We also have like a costume contest. We end the weekend with Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
There's always something going on. You will never be bored at Halloween-a-Palooza. If you were to complain about everything or about anything, is not getting to do everything. But this year we are it'll be the weekend of the 12th and 13th. I think I got the dates right. It's that weekend of October. At Bridgeview Center here in Ottumwa, Iowa.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Halloween-a-Palooza rules. It's one of our favorite events to go to, and seeing the guest lineup for this year has my Freddy loving heart just so excited to come out this year. Yes, Sam, do we have anything else we need to throw out there on this episode?
No, I don't think so. Just, be good people to each other and enjoy life. And thanks for tuning in. And sweet screams?
Question.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.